Well, hi there and welcome. My name is Rebecca Weaver. We're going to be looking at greatest common factor and factor by grouping today. So we need to know what is factoring. Well, factoring is splitting a product into factors. So our examples of this would be 5 times 6 is 30. 5 times 6, they're the factors. The product or the answer is 30. I could have also said 15 times 2 because those are both factors and the product is still 30. So there's a lot of different answers that you might could get for factoring. So if we have 30 and we want to know just exactly uh, how we get those factors, we could say that 30 is 3 times 10. We could look at 3x and we could say, hey, that's 3 times x. So 3 times x would be factors. I could look at 3x plus 6 and I could say 3 and x plus 2 are both factors. All right, so let's see what we're going to do with this. Now, what's the greatest common factor? That's something that we're going to be asking ourselves a lot. The greatest common factor of two or more expressions is the largest expression that is a factor of all the expressions. So we might say, what's the greatest common factor of 30 and 24? There's a nice little set of steps that we can utilize in order to find the greatest common factor. So step number 1, factor each into primes and compute the prime factorization. Step 2, circle the common factors and write them down. Step 3, multiply the factors. All right, so let's look at 30. 3 times 10, those are factors, but it's not the prime factorization because 10 is not prime. So let's break it down even further. 3 times 2 times 5, now that's 30, and those are all primes, so that is actually the prime factorization. Now, I like to have my numbers in order, so I like to write it as 2 times 3 times 5, but it doesn't really matter. Let's look at 24. That's 2 times 12. Pick any two factors, but 12 is not prime, so that'll break down even further. It'll break down into 2 times 6, so 2 times 2 times 6. Hey, those are all factors, but it's not the prime factorization, so let me go even further. That's 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. You multiply all of that, you'll get 24, and that is the prime factorization. So I need to circle the common factors. There's the common factors. One of them has a 2, each one of them has a 3. I'm supposed to write them down and multiply. I write down a 2 and a 3, multiply them. The greatest common factor of 30 and 24 is 6. Nice. So what's the greatest common factor? Let's do this again. What's the greatest common factor of something with x's in it? You do the exact same thing. You write down your 30x cubed. We already did 30 and 24, so I'm going to go ahead and write down that the prime factorization of 30 is 2 times 3 times 5. I already found that. And then just write down all your x's. There's 3 of them. X cubed is x times x times x. Let's do the 24x to the 4th. I already know the prime factorization of 24 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. And let me write down those 4x's multiplied together. Now let's circle everything they have in common. There we go. They each have a 2. They each have a 3. And they each have 3 x's. So let's write that down and multiply. The greatest common factor of 30x cubed and 24x to the 4th is 6x cubed. Nice. Let's go on to the next one. So, what's the greatest common factor of 9m to the 3rd n to the 5th? 12m squared n. Write each one down. What's the prime factorization? 3 times 3, and then I need 3 m's and 5 n's. I think I counted them all right. Yep. Then write down 12m squared n. That's going to be 2 times 2 times 3, and then I need 2 m's, n, and let's circle everything they have in common. So they each have a 3, they each have 2 m's, and they each have an n. The greatest common factor of 9m to the 3rd n to the 5th, 12m squared n, is 3m squared n. All right. Let's look at our next one. How do you factor a polynomial? Well, what you're going to do is you're going to find the greatest common factor of all the terms, rewrite each term as a product using the greatest common factor, and then use reverse distributive property by checking and multiplying. Okay, let's see. Let's factor 4x plus 12. Step 1, greatest common factor of 4x and 12, that's a 4. Step 2, rewrite each as a 4 times whatever. So 4x is 4 times x. 12 is 4 times 3. Step 3 is you take that and you'll write your greatest common factor, an open parenthesis, and then you'll write x plus 3. Now we do need to check this. So step 4, watch me check this. I'm going to distribute. I get 4x plus 12. Hey, that's what I started with. I know that this is right. Therefore, my answer is 4 times the quantity x plus 3. All right, play again. How do we factor a polynomial? Let's write our steps down again. What do you want me to do? Let's do 18x minus 12. Step 1. What's the greatest common factor of 18x and 12? Well, it's 6. Step 2. Let's write 18x as a product of 6, that's the greatest common factor, and whatever else is left. So that'd be 3x. 12 is 6 times 2. Step 3, I'm going to write that 18x minus 12 as 6 times whatever is left, watching your signs on this one. So I have a 3x, and then I have a minus 2. I need to, once again, check by multiplying this out. It works. Hey, that's nice. So then I know that my answer is 6, open parenthesis, 3x minus 2. Now, how do you factor a polynomial? There's our steps again, just writing those down. So here we're going to write the greatest common factor of all the terms. We're going to rewrite each term as a product using the greatest common factor, and then we're going to use reverse distributive property, checking and multiplying. Same thing. This time I have 3 things to look at. So I need the greatest common factor of 2x squared, 4x, and a 12. So if I were to look at what the greatest common factor of all 3 of those is, they only have a 2 in common. It's got to be common to all 3. So they have a 2 in common. So let's write down what each one is. 2x squared is 2 times x squared. 4x is 2 times 2x. And 12 is 2 times 6. So for step 3, I'm going to write that 2 on the outside, open parenthesis, and then write down what's left, watching my signs very carefully. So I just wrote 2, open parenthesis, x squared plus 2x minus 6. Step 4, I need to check this sucker. I'm going to distribute this, multiply, and I'll find, hey, this is right. So therefore, my answer to this is factored 2, open parenthesis, x squared plus 2x minus 6. Hey, now let's note, this is not factored completely. In the next section or the next video, we're going to factor this one completely. It will go even further. But we don't have to do that in this section. How do we factor by grouping? Well, you're going to group the terms with common factors. You're going to factor out the common factor in each group, and then you're going to factor the common factor from the expression and check. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's see here what we've got. We've got x squared plus 2x minus 5x minus 10. Step 1, that says group the terms with the common factors. Bam. Both the x squared and the 2x, they both have an x in common, don't they? The 5x and the 10, they both have, let's see, let's go ahead and take out that x and then write down what we have. Notice I took the x out of both of those. They have x plus 2 left. Then I have minus 5x minus 10. They both have a minus 5 in common. When I factor that out, or divide that out, I'll get x plus 2. let's look at what we have when I put that together. Notice that both of these have an x plus 2 in them. I can factor that out and write down that I have an x and a minus 5 left. Therefore, my factor is x plus 2 times x minus 5. Now, I need to check this. So I'm going to multiply the x times the x, that's x squared, the x times the minus 5x, and then I need to multiply the 2 times the x and the 2 times the minus 5, and I will get exactly what I started with. So this is factored. Nice. Now, if you have trouble with this, you'll really want to make sure that you have this down pat. You are going to use this over and over and over in the rest of your math classes. This is going to be a real focal point. So be sure that you get all of this factoring just down pat. If you don't have it, be sure and email me, rweaver10@alaska.edu. The best way to get good at factoring is lots of practice. And don't think you're going to get away from it, because let me tell you, just about every problem you're going to do from here on out is going to have some factoring in it in every math class you ever take. If you take calculus, you're going to be factoring. If you take college algebra, you're going to be factoring. If you don't learn it now, you will have to learn it or miss all of the problems. You won't pass a math class if you can't factor. So be sure that you can factor. Be sure and email me and talk to me if you're having trouble with this. All right. Now have a fabulous day. I know that was kind of ominous, but have a fabulous day. And I know it'll be difficult at first, but that's normal. Just practice and the learning will come through the struggle.